Hello listeners, and welcome to this new episode of Luke's English Podcast, which is a podcast for learners of English around the world. Are you a learner of English? Are you around the world? If the answer to both those questions is yes, then this podcast is for you. It has been made specifically with you in mind to help you do more listening in English in order to help you improve your ability to understand and ultimately use this language. If you are not from the world, if you're not from Earth, I mean, you could still listen to the show as well. If you're an alien on a different planet, then maybe, learning English could still be a good idea. If you're planning to visit Earth and you want to contact the humans, probably be a good idea to be able to speak English as the international language of Earth. But anyway, never mind that stuff about aliens. In this episode, you're going to listen to a conversation. It's another conversation episode, and this one features a guest. My guest today is Sarah Donnelly, my friend who's been on this podcast a few times. Sarah, if you just go back into the episode archive, you can see that she has made several appearances over the years. Sarah is a friend of mine from doing stand-up comedy. Sarah does lots of different things, just like most people do. She studied politics at university. She works as an English teacher here in France. And as well as that, she does stand-up. And in fact, that's a thing that she's been doing for quite a long time now. She's been working away as a stand-up comedian, doing lots and lots of gigs. And in fact, this time she's back on the podcast to talk about her stand-up special, which she recorded and has sort of published herself. It's available now on YouTube. A stand-up special. I mean, often you get comedians do stand-up specials, which are then put onto Netflix or something, or you get like Ricky Gervais's stand-up special or some other comedian, and you'll be able to see their show on Netflix. Sarah has done it herself this time. She paid for the recording, the editing, the whole lot, did it all herself, and it's available now on YouTube, and you can watch it if you want. It's called The Only American in Paris, and in this episode we discuss some of the themes from Sarah's show, some of the things that she talks about in her stand-up special, namely the real experience of being a US citizen living in Paris and what Americans typically think of life in Paris versus the reality of it. We do talk about Netflix. We talk about the Netflix TV show Emily in Paris. I don't know if you're aware of that. It's a famous and successful TV show, Emily in Paris, all about an American girl who goes to Paris. We talk about that a little bit. We talk about the pros and cons of living in the French capital, some bits about the political situation in the USA right now, just a little bit, about learning French, about Sarah's successful learning of French. Plus, in the last, let's say, 30 minutes of the conversation, so pretty much the second half of the conversation, we do another classic British versus American English vocabulary and pronunciation quiz, mostly focusing on pronunciation, the differences in pronunciation between certain words between British English and American English. So, conversation about cross-cultural things, plus a bit of British and American English pronunciation as well. All right, it's a good episode, fun episode. It was really nice to have Sarah back on the show. You can check out her stand-up special. You'll find a link for it in the description. It could be a good idea to watch that after listening to this episode. But anyway, that's enough of an introduction. I'll now let you get into the conversation with Sarah, and here we go. Sarah Donnelly, welcome back onto the podcast. Hello.
Thank you. Hello.
Very nice to have you back here.
I'm thrilled to be back. I love coming.
Yeah, the last time, it's too long ago.
Probably. Well, it was warm. It was summertime.
Yeah.
And we had to close the window. And I remember you were like, excuse the heat.
Yeah, it does get warm in here.
It does, especially when you've got two Anglophones just bellowing hot air.
just talking a lot of hot air. Exactly, coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an expression already.
Yeah, there you go.
A lot of hot air, meaning just, what is that?
Just nonsense.
Yeah, just talking a lot of hot air.
Talking a lot of hot air. You're just not saying much. And bellow, I love that word.
To bellow.
To bellow.
Meaning?
It's kind of, it doesn't mean like kind of, it's a tonality of how you're speaking. And you're kind of just like,
just talking loudly and going on and on.
Yeah.
Makes me think of bellows
Bellows.
You know what bellows are? I don't know if you call them the same
No.
thing. In them. You know, if you have a fire in the fireplace and you need a thing to blow into the fire.
That's called the bellows.
Those are called bellows.
And it's blowing hot air.
Hey.
He's not been doing this for 15 plus years for no reason.
You tied that thread. You threaded that one through there.
Bam.
Very nice.
Welcome.
So here we are
It's
again.
my podcast now.
It's Sarah's American English podcast. Where we're talking a lot of hot air with hot drinks. We're drinking our cups of tea.
Cheers.
Which is nice. It's lovely to have you back. I think it was about, I have to say, 2.5 years ago, the last time you were on the show. Can I share a couple of comments from the last time?
I would love to.
Yeah.
You have the nicest listeners.
That's nice. Yeah, that's nice.
You do. And he's like, well, it was all negative.
I've got one or two in here that are funny.
I love that.
So first of all, a month ago,
Okay.
so the last episode is still getting some listens.
Oh, wonderful.
So a month ago, a donkey, a horse.
A donkey, a horse.
That's the name of the user.
Love that.
Love the toilet talk.
Oh, God.
Do you remember that?
I do. As I walked up today, I was like, one thing we can't talk about is that Turkish toilet.
Because there is a Turkish.
We went on a long conversation. Listen to the other episode.
There's a toilet at the end of the corridor, which is sort of vaguely infamous on the podcast, but guests often comment on it. At the end of the corridor, there is a toilet which serves all of the sort of places on this floor, the ones that don't have toilets in their little apartment. And it's a hole in the floor Turkish style toilet.
That's what
we had a discussion about it.
Okay.
So I love that toilet talk and love it more after the Amber and Paul one.
Oh, have I topped our dear friends Amber and Paul? It's competing toilet talk.
Apparently. So
Wow.
we initiated the toilet-based conversation for possibly 15 minutes the last time. And then Amber and Paul were on the show not that long afterwards. And somehow we picked up where we'd left off.
Great.
We went on for about 45 minutes.
Oh, man.
On the subject of the toilet and what people do in toilets.
Oh, well, let's not. Okay. Let's just get to the comments. Yeah.
So...
Tune in, guys.
It was fascinating, I have to say.
Okay, good.
Including all of the secret things about why ladies take so long in the toilets and why the queues are often so long, which is Anyway, that was very interesting. So anyway, a donkey a horse says, love that toilet talk and love it more after the Amber and Paul one. And Sarah has a very beautiful and attractive voice.
Oh, thank you, a donkey a horse.
That's nice, isn't it?
That is nice. I don't often get that when I'm around so many English people who have really classically beautiful voices.
Really?
Well, yes. I mean, American people, we love the English accent. And I think around the world, most people, when they want to learn English, they want to go with the gold standard.
You think?
An English accent. I do. Am I?
I don't know. Yeah, you may well be right. It's hard to tell, isn't it? But I always feel like most people in the world learning English are probably learning American English.
They might be, yeah. Well, maybe not in France. It's definitely British English.
Yeah, in the school system, university system.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I say it's definitely. You think so? Is that a fact? I'm like, I'm not sure.
Definitely 50% sure about that.
I mean, well, here's the thing. Amber and I, you're fans. You all know Amber, of course. And Amber's got a lovely voice. We all agree. Amber has a beautiful voice.
If I could choose an accent, hers would be my choice. That's the way it goes.
She's got a lovely voice. We used to do a comedy show together. And someone came up to us and they're like, wow, you guys are so great. Amber, you have just such a beautiful voice. And they're like, and you're just so shrill. It's a nice contrast.
So shrill.
Shrill is that's a high level vocab.
That's nice. That's a nice bit
about
of vocab.
Voice tonality again.
Yeah. But it's often, that was not a very nice thing that person said in a way. They were being nice to Amber and they were, Amber, you've got a lovely voice and you're just so shrill.
So it's a nice balance. It's a backhanded compliment, as we say.
Yeah.
Not...
Shrill, though, I have to say, is often used in a kind of pejorative way.
Absolutely. For women's voice.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like people complaining about women's voices.
Yeah.
They say that they're shrill, meaning they're sort of a little higher pitched.
And annoying. But a donkey horse disagrees. Thank you so much.
Very beautiful and attractive voice.
Thank you.
Yes. Tiago, a year ago, I really enjoy it when you bring people to your podcast, different accents and cultures. It's fantastic for a learner. Thanks, Luke.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
That's the idea, right? American English and British English united in one episode. You can compare and contrast.
Yes, you can.
If you want. Fatima Fatima something said, be serious, please, while talking. Don't smile too much.
I'm sorry. I'm having a lot of fun. I don't know if that's directed towards me or
don't
you.
Stop
but...
smiling. Don't enjoy yourself. We have to be serious when we're talking.
I can be serious, but this is one of my long-time friends. Come on.
Yeah, it's all right. It's okay I'm sorry for being happy while we do something for you. But anyway, not everyone agrees. That's just Fatima. Sorry, Fatima.
Well, maybe Fatima thinks that she's used to holding her professor at a very serious level. And so she feels maybe if we're having too much fun, how serious can we be about language learning? But I'm sorry, we've already dropped a few great vocab words.
We have already. Shrill.
Bellow.
To bellow.
Blow hot air.
Yeah, blowing hot air. Exactly.
Yeah.
Lovely Flower 7083. I enjoy the idea. Your guest.
Ooh, your guess.
Is very nice and lovely woman.
Oh.
Full energy.
That's me. I am full energy.
Thanks a lot, my best teacher.
Aww.
Okay. So,
these are so nice.
A smattering of comments there from last time.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, we don't have all that much time, so we probably need to kind of like cut some of the chit chat and get down to business.
So.
We need to cut the chit chat so we can start more chit chat, essentially, right? So, you're a stand-up comedian. I'll do an introduction, but your new stand-up special is now available on YouTube. Mm-hmm. You've self-published this one, organised and paid for the filming, the production, the whole thing yourself. Now, it's you doing stand-up, doing your thing on stage, telling very, very funny stories, hilarious bits, largely based on your experiences of living as an American in Paris, although you are now French, are you not?
I am French, yeah.
You are.
Been French since 2020.
Really?
Yeah.
How's that going for you?
Great.
Yeah?
I don't know.
Did anything change when you got French citizenship? Dual citizenship, I might add. It's your American and your United States citizen and French citizen, both. But yes.
Has anything changed? Well, I'm not sure.
You don't unlock special skills?
I wish I could, but I thought I would. I thought the most special skill I was going to unlock was being able to bypass French administration because I thought they go easier on their own kind. But if you watch the special, you'll find out that was not the case.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of admin, even for French people.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, but you're not able to choose baguettes more effectively.
I wish I could.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's like French by paper, American by blood. I'm trying. I'm trying my best to become more. I wore a beret today.
I noticed that.
Unironically, I like a beret. So maybe it's going to be a slow evolution.
I think that not as many French people wear beret. Here's an interesting bit of pronunciation for you listeners. I'd say a beret, and you say a beret.
Beret. And so the emphasis is the emphasis is different, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't think that so this is a sort of a cliche of the French, right? That they wear berets. But I don't see that many French people wearing berets. I feel like they could wear them more.
They should wear them more. It's a great hat.
It is.
It really keeps your head warm. A real beret is going to be made from wool, from the Basque region is where they come from.
Really? Yeah.
Yes. So I have a beret from the Basque country that's in the southwest, made from wool, and I only wear it when it's quite cold out because it makes me warm. So I use it as a functional hat. Yeah,
and it's a good hat, definitely. So your show, now in this conversation, I want to use some of the things you talk about in your show, which by the way, you can watch on YouTube, listeners, if you're interested. The link will be in the description. It's called The Only American in Paris. We'll get to that in a second. So I want to use some of the things you talk about in your show as the basis for some chit-chat, some conversation, which I think will probably touch on things like cultural differences, which we've already looked at a little bit.
Can I say something about the show?
Yes, absolutely.
It's available with French subtitles and English subtitles. So if you're an English learner and you want some help, you can watch it with English subtitles. And if you're, curious about the French language, or you're just starting your journey in English and you are French, which might mean this would be hard for you to understand, but it's got French subtitles. So it's accessible to your whole audience because there's English with English subs.
Yes, I think the English subtitles will be certainly
most useful,
appealing for my listeners, and they are like not just automatic subtitles.
No, I actually we made the subtitles me and my production team, ourselves, and there's French in the special. So when there's French, it's actually translated into English in the sub. So you'll be able to understand everything.
Yeah, yeah. Very useful. Switch on the subtitles. The link for the show is in the description. And I'm not trying to prompt you to do any of your stand-up material.
Okay.
I'm not trying to get your stand-up material out of you here on the podcast, but we could just like talk around some of the things.
Sure.
So, questions. So the show is called The Only American in Paris.
Yes.
It's your sort of one-person show, let's say. Why did you choose that name?
The Only American in Paris. Well, I chose that name. It's a joke. Mm-hmm. Because when Americans come to Paris, we tend to think of ourselves as very special. Uh-huh. We're like chosen in some way. Because first of all, technically, it's very hard to. I don't have an EU passport. Well, I didn't. So you got to really be motivated to come. You can't just show up. And so you feel like you've done something. And usually you're the only one of your family or friends to move to France. And so you kind of feel like I'm special. I've come here. I'm going to document it. And we see this time and time again on TikTok. Girls are like, I just moved to Paris. And then you show up and you're like, wow, I'm not that unique. And actually, Americans have been doing this for a long time.
But Americans do have a soft spot for France and Paris, especially.
We really do.
Really romanticize it so much.
So much.
What's all that about, do you think?
I don't know. I think it's so different than any city in the United States in terms of the look and the feel and the culture. And it really is seductive. And so you're on vacation and you're like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. I want to live here. The bread, the wine, whatever. And then people just show up and they fully forget it's an actual real country and real city with a real language and culture that is not going to bend to you in any way. Yeah,
it's not Disneyland. It's not there to offer you a service. It's a fully functioning city that in many ways tourists sort of get in the way, although they are to an extent the lifeblood of many industries here.
Absolutely.
They can be people can find tourists a little bit annoying sometimes if they're in the way. So so tourists come here. Yeah, they might find that, real life can be a bit of a slap in the face sort of thing.
I think so. Yeah. But so I was just playing this idea that Americans, we feel like we're so special. We've come to Paris. Look at me, like the Emily in Paris syndrome.
Yeah.
And then you realize you don't have any friends and you can't speak the language. And your dreams of being like, I'm going to be fluent in French. I'm going to be a writer. I'm gonna make friends with all these French people and be so elegant and chic. And then you're like, bonjour. And you like are freaking out about how to order your baguette. And
right.
So you just look around and you're like, oh my God, is anyone here speaking English? You speak English. I speak English. We're friends now.
We'll be friends. Yeah. And then you just go and sit on a cafe terrace with one coffee and just sort of,
thank God you understand me.
Yeah.
And
you mentioned Emily in Paris.
Yes.
Because she is an American in Paris.
She's the most known American in Paris of this generation, I believe.
This is the Netflix TV series about an American girl who goes to work in Paris. She gets a job, played by Lily Collins, and it's a hugely successful Netflix show. Yes, and she is an American in Paris. Was this a reference for you in the title of your show? Because she is maybe the American in Paris, but you're the only American.
The only American. The title of the show was actually not related to that. It was more related to that feeling of like every American that shows up in Paris wants to make it their identity and make themselves seem unique in some way and then write a show or a book.
Yeah. Lots
of memoirs, Americans in Paris. They're like, I know. I'm going to talk about being an American in Paris. You go to a bookstore, there's like 40 books about being an American in Paris. And Amber always says, she's like, if you're American, you should not be allowed to write a book about your experience in Paris.
The world is full now.
There's a lot of them. So I was like, I'm going to do a comedy show. It's obviously very different. But I don't know. What was the question? I'm losing.
It was about Emily in Paris.
Emily in Paris. So it wasn't about that. It was more about this vibe that Americans have, that we think we're unique and special. And we're not unique and special. People are coming from everywhere every day, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's have a laugh.
Absolutely.
Let's not be so serious about it.
Yeah, sure. Can I ask you about Emily in Paris,
Absolutely.
though?
I've only watched the first season.
You've only watched the first season. So can you describe it first?
From what I recall, because it came out like 4 years ago, I think.
Yeah, I
It's
guess
a bit
so.
old. She's an American girl. She comes to Paris. She comes on a expat contract. She's got a job,
Yeah,
a
Like a-
corporate job.
sort of fixed term.
Yeah. She didn't
arrangement.
roll up. Some of us rolled up here as students or, baristas, babysitters, and we're just trying to get by.
Yeah.
So she's got her nice corporate job. She wears Chanel. She lives on the left bank. I'm like, this is the dream. She's never gone to the prefecture. She doesn't have visa problems.
I mean, she doesn't have to go and face the French bureaucratic system at any point in any of the episodes.
Apparently not. She's living our dream.
She doesn't get queue jumped.
Nothing.
Okay.
She's living her best life. She's got all these hot men fawning after her. She meets her best friend at a flower market, because
Of
French
course.
people are known to be so friendly and willing to become your friend on the street.
Especially in the queue for a flower market. Yeah. So is it a realistic depiction of the life of an American girl in Paris?
I think it's definitely not a realistic depiction, but let's make a fantasy. It's a television show. When it first came out, I was all like, I was all grumpy about it. But now I'm just like, we need an Emily. Let's just dream. Let's let Emily, wear her 4-inch stilettos and Chanel bag and, never take the metro and just enjoy. Go to fashion shows and stuff. Like, yes, that's what we want to see. We don't want to see a show about people going to the prefecture.
I would like to see that show. I want to see a realistic Emily in Paris.
I don't think it's interesting.
It would be interesting for me.
I mean, for us, potentially. But I don't know. Let's ask the listeners. Do you guys want to see a show about the real Paris? It's a lot of queuing.
Like one episode where she's in a queue at the, as you say, at the prefecture, which is like the place where you go to get your working visa renewed. I'd love to see one episode which is filmed entirely in one queue.
Oh, love that.
Like a sort of, the way that they did that in Seinfeld. There's one famous episode where they're queuing up for a restaurant and it's the entire episode in the queue.
Love that.
But like kind of depressing. That's what, as a British person, this is what I need / expect from my drama shows. I need a bit more darkness and depression.
You need
please.
darkness and depression.
Yeah.
And I think, you talk about Americans loving the French. I mean, the Brits, you guys have a real complicated relationship. You're like, we don't like you. And you're like, I love you. Like you love to hate them and you hate to love them.
Well, but it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Because the Brits and the French, or the English and the French, maybe more specifically, have spent a lot of our history trying to kill each other a lot.
But also getting together.
Yeah, this is right. French kings and queens getting down. Making French English royal babies. This is true. There's a history of it, fighting and something else.
Yeah, I didn't know if I could say that word on the podcast, so I'm trying to keep it PG.
Another F word you could say. Yeah,
fighting and look it up.
Well, what often would happen, I guess, is that the royal families would wage war against each other, and the actual soldiers would do all the fighting. But then it's the royals who'd probably get it on, in some way, as a sort of a peace treaty, as a part of the contract, the agreement that.
Oh God, can you imagine if that was going on today? If we had to have a peace treaty, America, who's going to sleep with Donald Trump to get the peace treaty?
Or one of his kids, for God's sake. God. Let's not go there.
Sorry, I'm American. It's been a rough start of the year.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, but then I thought.
How low the tone will be lowered.
Yeah.
All I want to say, I studied politics in school.
Yeah.
I obviously grew up in America and I have kind of a vision of what America was and what I was taught of what we stood for. And to watch the country go in a direction that seems very dangerously towards authoritarianism and fascism and our democracy breaking down, it's very shocking and very hard to watch.
Yeah.
And every day I'm like having moments. I just I can't believe what's happening. So it's hard to watch.
Well, I won't press you on it any further. I mean, I'm not going to, it's not your job to hold your entire country to account at this particular moment in time. But I agree, it's pretty shocking to observe.
Let's get back to the comedy special.
Emily in Paris and your comedy show.
This is how I feel. I'm just like, I'll open the New York Times. I'll just be like, oh my God. And then I'm like, have you guys watched my comedy special?
Yeah.
It's a weird time we are. just in general in the world, where we have all these crazy events happening in the world and we're on our phones and we see that, and then someone's like, do you want to lose 5 pounds? Here's a new fitness tea. And you're just like, what? Like the information.
It's just ridiculous, isn't it? The experience these days. Yeah.
Okay.
How long have you been in Paris now? It's like 12, 13
We're
years?
going on almost 13 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So has it changed you, Sarah, in that time? Think of the person you were when you arrived and the person that you have become this time. Has it been have you transformed, or are you essentially the same person?
Well, I mean, obviously I've transformed. After 12 going on 13 years, you're going to transform. You're going to get older. I mean, I can say when I showed up, I didn't think I was going to stay here. It felt very like I'm going to come. I was with my now husband. He was my boyfriend. And I was like, I'm going to move. Yeah, French. I'm going to move. I'm going to be with him. We're going to enjoy this time. And then we're going to try to go back to the US and we're going to go from there. So the fact that my life came to Paris and at this point not leaving Paris is absolutely surprising. I could not have predicted that.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
Because I didn't grow up thinking like, oh, I want to move to Paris. It wasn't one of my dreams. I was very happy. I lived in Washington, D.C. I was very happy in my life there. But, life comes at you fast and things change. And now here I am. And I mean, I have to say the longer that I'm here, I definitely becoming more Parisian. Like I'm joking. Maybe I'm not French, but I'm definitely becoming more Parisian. Like
in what way?
I don't want to leave Paris.
Meaning the periphery, the
Intramuros. I got to stay. I'm like, we're never going to live in the suburbs. I can't allow that to happen.
You've got the city limits of Paris.
Yeah.
It's 20
arrondissements. Yeah.
I was like, it's 20 or 21? Oh,
no,
God.
20.
It's 20 arrondissement. And outside of that, that's a Parisian thing that Parisians are like, where's the party? Oh, it's just on the other side of the Boulevard Périphérique.
Even our friends, some of our friends don't live in Paris.
Yeah.
And when they ask you to come out, you're like, whoa, hold on.
Oh, God.
Let's take a look.
Need to just block 3 weeks in my timetable here.
Got to get your passport out. Got to make sure do we have all of our shots to go out there? So in that sense, I'm like, I'm very Parisian in the fact that not only have I lived in Paris the entire time, I've lived in the same neighborhood. I just keep moving down the street. I don't even leave, not even the arrondissement. Not even the neighborhood. I'm just going down the street.
Yeah, same as us.
Yeah.
Your experience is very similar to mine.
Yeah.
We actually arrived in Paris, I think, in the same month.
We did. We didn't know each other yet.
We didn't. September 2012.
Yeah.
We both arrived at the same time. And, very similar stories, really. We're both with French people. Mm-hmm. We came. We didn't necessarily expect to stay here long term. We thought, well, there's, this person. I don't want to, lose this person. So I'll follow them to France.
Yeah, I want to make a life with them. I want to, I'm in love with them. And, that's what's important. And Paris is a great city.
Exactly.
What could happen? You'll get stuck here forever. That's...
in a queue.
In a queue.
Being queue jumped by the locals.
I literally, the other day, I went to the boulangerie. I don't usually go to this particular boulangerie on a Saturday morning. And on a Saturday morning around this boulangerie is the market. Okay, so it's got a heavy flow of people coming in to get bread. They've gone to the market. They want bread. It was a nightmare. And I left. I was like, c'était hallucinant. I was like, I can't. And just the queue chaos. And this woman, we arrived at the same time at the bakery. And there was a man standing blocking the door. And so I asked him, I was like, are you in line? And he was like, oh no. And I was like, why are you standing there? Anyway, so I was like, okay, but I was being polite. But this other woman who also arrived at the same time, she just got in front of me and she was like, I was in front of you. And I was like,
okay.
Go ahead. I'm not worried about it. Then, another just old person just filters in, causing chaos.
Yeah.
Then the woman who was so pressed to get in front of me was paying in small money and she was on the phone. So she just was like...
Yeah. And then the queue splinters.
Jesus.
Or it sort of disperses at certain points.
I couldn't... This bakery is very small. So it was just a mess. No clean line.
Yeah.
Just a glom of people coming in the same, and...
It gives me terrible anxiety. I get terrible queue anxiety.
I was
I'm like,
angry.
Get behind me. You have to be exactly behind me. Yes.
So then I go home and I was like, God, French people. I was like, you do not know how to queue. And my husband was offended. And I was just like, you're wrong. And I texted, I've got a group of English girlfriends from England.
Oh, I'm sure.
Class, what do you say? Gold star queuers, English people.
Yeah.
You know how to queue.
Yeah.
This is what you do.
We should be given there should be a special, going back to politics, there should be a special government department for queuing, and I think that I should be given the job of organising that. Although I don't know how that would be enforced in France, because if you try to enforce a queuing policy, or even like some sort of compulsory training, like a week-long training course, all French people have to attend it. I think that they would go on strike. They would.
Yeah, it's never going to happen. But I actually am here. We need to get you in the government to teach people how to queue, because I was losing my mind. I think Americans and English, when it comes to queuing, we have different, personalities and approaches. But I think the thing that holds true between our two countries is if you jump the queue in English, or as we say in America, if you cut in the line.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the greatest insult you could do.
Yeah, I mean...
To class and country. How could you?
Yeah. I mean...
So flagrant.
Yeah. Death row.
Yes. Immediately.
I mean, in some states, the death penalty still exists, and this is...
Yes. We are... honestly, and in America, if you're gonna cut in line, this is the democracy. People are like, excuse me, we're like, the line's back here.
Yeah.
We...
Whereas in England, we'll tut very... aggressively. Just we'll create a frosty atmosphere.
Right. And you'll lock eyes with someone. You're like, we're not going to say anything, but they've disturbed the force.
Yeah,
it's just everyone around will know. Anyways, so I brought, my husband was not agreeing, and he was like, oh, what do you mean? I was like, look at the evidence. I was like, go to my English girlfriend group chat. They were just everyone's outraged. Sorry, I'm passionate.
I touched a nerve. With the queuing thing, obviously, but French people on this particular one, have a look at yourselves. But okay, let's go back. Let's flip it to something on the more positive side. So we talked about challenges. What about the positive aspects of what is great about living in Paris?
Oh my gosh, so many things.
Yeah.
I mean, Paris, it's a beautiful city.
Yeah.
You can really just go for a walk and have a beautiful moment. There's so much history. I love the museums, so many wonderful exhibitions. You go for a walk in the park, beautiful. I feel like I have a great family life here, me and my kids and my husband.
Yeah.
We just enjoy being in the city, and my kids get to do so much cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And the system, I mean, like the education system, so much is provided for.
Yeah.
The national health system.
Absolutely.
Is amazing.
Yeah, people are cared for. There's problems about everything, but I think in America, people are living really stressed about taking care of their families, getting food on the table, getting healthcare, medicine if they need. And when you don't have that here, knowing it's like if someone falls ill, we have a way to get medication, get healthcare that we need. It's great. It's in America we have like medical fundraisers. It's very weird, like GoFundMe's for treatments, and it's just so anti-European. It's just against. So it's very strange. Anyways, but we're gonna keep it positive. So let's keep.
That's all right.
Yeah, but like I love France. It is my adopted country. I was so happy to become French. It's culturally there's so much cool stuff. They love the arts. I always feel like we're going to see a great play and being in Paris, the capital, we have access to everything.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Great food, fun things, great stuff for kids. I feel like I'm trying to think of all the stuff we've done, even just recently. Like we went to an exhibition about pop art at the Louis Vuitton Foundation, which was incredible.
Yeah.
Took the girls, they loved it.
Yeah.
We went to, there's a museum, like a carnival museum, like, like fairs with like carousels and kind of old games.
Oh, yeah. I don't know about that.
Oh, yeah. It's called the Musée de Fêtes Foraines. It's by Bercy. It's a private collection. Just this one guy collected all of these artifacts from different carnivals. Really cool. They had it all decorated for Christmas. We went with the family. They had different spectacle. They had a ventriloquist.
Yes.
which was so cool.
What's a ventriloquist for my listeners?
Ventriloquist is someone who has a puppet, and they voice the puppet's voice, but they try to make it look like they're not speaking.
Yeah.
So it's a cool old kind of art form.
I tried to teach myself ventriloquism for a while. I didn't get very far, but I realised it only sort of worked if I could do this sort of voice like this. But that's like a sort of very sort of northern voice, which should come out like that. And I started talking like this. So I thought, is this going to be my act like this sort of character? You know, and I thought that's a bit weird. But in the early, when I was first doing comedy, I tried a few different things.
That's
tried to teach myself ventriloquism. Spent quite a lot of time on my own, speaking like this.
Yeah, because you've got to try to not move the lips, right?
Yeah,
it's hard.
So that's why with that accent, you're using your tongue a lot at the back of your throat. You know,
that's good. That was good, Luke.
So I end up using the back of my tongue to do what my lips would be doing.
Yeah,
you know, stuff like that. I also tried to do a musical act. I used to have an accordion. I had a whole routine with an accordion.
We need this on the pod. We need your your own one-man carnival hour.
The thing is, though, doing ventriloquism on a podcast, on an audio podcast, there's not much appeal to that, is it? Because, you know, like,
we're missing some of the magic.
Because the listeners, as far as they're concerned, it's like, well, we can't see his mouth moving anyway.
But they could watch it
on the video version. This is true. Yes.
My youngest loved that because it was a dog. So it was an older guy and a dog. We saw a tap dancer. Anyway, so just, you know, we're so lucky. You are like, what can we do this weekend? You can just look up. There's great stuff. I went to the ballet last month. I've done great stuff.
Yeah.
There's always something amazing to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's brilliant, isn't it?
Beautiful city. And the food is quite good. And the bread.
Wonderful.
Lest we forget.
When you finally get it. Yum, yum, yum.
After you fought tooth and nail to get to the front of the queue.
Maybe we're being overdramatic.
Me, never. I don't know.
It's not always that bad, but yeah, sometimes the queues are a bit annoying.
You did ask me though, like, have I become more Parisian? And I think in some ways now, when you see other Parisians doing bad behavior, and you know, when you lock eyes with another French person, and you're kind of making that like.
What do you mean by bad behavior?
I don't know if someone's just being I can't give a good example, but I can think of times where, you know, you're on the bus and someone's causing a scandal or something, and someone's kind of
being too noisy or doing something that's considered to be sort of generally
inappropriate or something,
impolite, or
right?
something.
And then you lock eyes with another Parisian, and you're just like, that's when you know you're like, now we're on board together. So that feels. Yeah, I feel like I understand kind of the Parisian mindset now. And I think one thing I like about it is a lot of times, I think Americans were very intense and Parisians are a bit more relaxed. But also, if they feel an injustice has been made, they'll stand up for it. And I like that.
Yeah. I always love watching Parisians arguing with each other.
It is a beautiful thing to watch when it doesn't involve you.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to sit back and just observe. If there's been an infraction of some kind, like in the street, like driving or something, and they get out of the car.
Oh, yeah.
So where we live, our street has just one lane. It's a one-way street with one lane. So it's easy for the road to be blocked.
Sure.
And quite regularly, you'll just start hearing shouting outside.
Love that.
Like, come to the window.
Yes, that's a Parisian move. You hear people yelling outside. Get to your window, the best reality TV.
Have a good look.
Because you're not the only one. Have you ever done that and you've looked around, you can see other people looking out the window?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, we're all seeing this.
You're joined by all your neighbours who are watching the show as well. And it's always some delivery guy who stopped his truck in the middle of the road, and the road's backed up and there's cars beeping and buses beeping. And then someone gets out of their another truck, and comes over, and they start insulting the other guy who stops what he's doing, and they have an argument.
Right. Instead of just letting the man finish his job.
Exactly.
No, now they're engagé.
So that guy who got out of his car to come and insult the other guy is making the situation much worse. And so now everyone's annoyed, and you have to do this theatre.
I love it.
It's lovely to watch it. It never actually escalates beyond verbal confrontation, though. Which
is refreshing, because in my country, it could.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to America, but it's nice. Yeah, people really do, they'll go for it and have colorful language, as we say.
Yeah, the French colorful language.
They can insult each other with a flurry of rude words and insults, and you're just like, wow, this is impressive.
It is spectacular, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. How's your French?
Ça va.
Ça va.
Ça va?
Ça va?
Non, mais bien.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Do you know what your level is?
Okay, so 5 years ago, I had to get tested for nationality.
Yes.
And I got C2 for listening.
Woo!
So I was very pleased with that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
I was really, really pleased. I do think I have a good ear. I understand a lot. Obviously, not all. And 5 years ago, my expression orale, so my oral expression, was at a B2. I think it could be a C1, but maybe I make some mistakes. People can understand me. I feel confident. I don't go into any situation feeling like I can't express myself. But of course, I get nervous sometimes. Like I'm going to a meeting with the school we're going to like the schools of Paris to do a little protest because they want to close a class down in our school. So a group of parents, we're going to go concerned parents and talk to them and say, we don't agree with this. That I am a little nervous because that's a more sophisticated way of speaking.
Yes.
So that does intimidate me a little bit, but I'll go and I'll roll with it.
That's great.
So I'm feeling good.
Excellent.
I would love to be better, though. I mean, who wouldn't like to improve?
There's no end to the progress that can be made. Have there been any particular experiences or things that you feel have helped to boost your French? Could you just name one thing where you felt, wow, that made a difference?
Well, I'll say something related to the special.
Yes,
so,
the comedy special.
The comedy special. Yeah. So a comedy special, when we say comedy special, it's when any comedian puts out like an hour work that's taped, filmed. We call it the special. Yeah. And two things. One, because I've been in Paris for a long time, I really called on friends to help me, and they did, and it was wonderful. And part of that, I had I had a crew, a full production crew, and we were many different nationalities, but also a lot of French people. And my director of photography was French, and he had good English, but we were communicating in French, and it just was like, this is so great that I feel confident working with these people on my team and being able to communicate with them confidently, and they understand me. That was a great moment to feel like, thankfully I've been here and I've learned the language, and we understand each other, and I can communicate in French, and we're getting all the pieces together.
That's great.
Yeah, it felt really good.
Really good feeling of accomplishment.
Yeah.
But on the way to this, though,
on the way,
I mean, how did you manage to get there? Have there been anything? Have you done anything in particular that you feel really helped?
I think a couple things. First, when I did come here, I did go to French school for 2 years, and I think being in a classroom in a formal setting helps. You get your basics, you learn grammar, you learn conjugation. I mean, of course, there are people who are out there and they're like, oh, just watch movies and you'll be fluent. And it's like, maybe, but if you really want to know a language, I think taking classes is a great way. Working on the actual nuts and bolts of language is really important. And I actually should do some more of that. Then getting jobs and working with French people, having bosses who are French or colleagues who are French, where it's like, this is the only way we got to communicate. So putting yourself in situations where you have to use the language.
Yes.
And I've also just giving myself the grace of time, knowing that, if you keep going, you are going to get better as long as you keep trying and putting yourself out there. And, like I was just saying, I'm going to go to this meeting, this governmental meeting next week. And I'm a little nervous, but it will be, one, I want to go. And two, it's like, okay, I'm pushing past any like self-consciousness I have about my French or how to express myself. And all of these things are good. So you got to put yourself out of your comfort zone. If you stay in your comfort zone, you're not probably going to learn a language. You got to get a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, and keep going.
Yeah. Because when I came, trust me, I did not speak any French. I went to the Alliance Française in Washington, D.C. I had my kind of first vocab, and I was feeling really good. And I show up here, and it's very overwhelming when you finally go to the country where you're learning the language, and you're like, wow, how people speak on a day-to-day, it's so fast, and there's so many accents, and it felt really overwhelming. And it's hard because as an adult language learner, you don't realize how long it's going to take.
Yeah.
Given the fact that, you have a life and a job and you've got other, you're not a university student dedicated, 24/7 to learning the language. So yeah, just having some grace and being like, it's going to take some time and trying to enjoy it in the process. And it's really funny now that I have kids because I was reading a book to one of my kids. I don't usually read in French. We try to keep it. I just do the English and my husband does the French. But we were looking at something. Oh, my daughter, my 8-year-old had homework and she was reading the story out loud in French. And then she said a word. I was like, what does that mean? She's like, I don't know. And I was like, okay. So we're both just like, well, we'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
But I love learning new French vocabulary. It's so fun. I get humbled by this language every single day. And it's just like, wow, you really can learn something new every single day.
Yeah.
And of course, I cannot think of a good example, but there has been something recently. I was like, I just learned a new word. That's very fun.
That's great. That's a really good attitude. Yeah. Much better than my attitude to learning French.
You gotta have some fun along the way. And just, people I think in general are quite enthusiastic. They're more, if they see you're trying, sure, there's some jerks, but if they see you're trying, people like that. People are usually willing to meet you halfway because people are nice.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Keep
positive
going, guys.
Spirit. That's the spirit. That is the spirit. I feel like because we don't have that much time because we both have children that we have to go and get. So just to close that part of the episode, the conversation, The Only American in Paris, available now on YouTube. The link is in the description. If you want to see Sarah's honed comedy skills on display,
please,
telling her jokes and stories, check the link in the description. English subtitles are available. And it's a lot of the things that we've just talked about there get sort of demonstrated, but in the form of funny jokes and bits.
Stand-up comedy, yeah. But the special is, it's all from my life. It's all it's either actual true stories that happened to me or coming from a place of truth. But I talk about going to the pharmacy. That's a true story. I talk about running into a woman on the street when I'm with my daughter. That's a true story.
Yeah.
Getting my passport photo. That's a true story. Getting a beauty service at Body Minute. That's a true story. There's many. It's all coming from my life here. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Please check it out and get, or at the least use it to practice your English with the English subs.
Absolutely. And drop a like and a nice comment, That's always good on YouTube. It helps with the mysterious algorithm and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Right, now before we end, last time we did a lot of American and British English stuff.
Okay.
If you remember, we did
I love that. Yes,
quiz.
I do.
I want to do another one. Right,
love that.
We'll try and do it fairly quickly, but I thought that since that's probably going to be the part of the appeal for people listening to this is that they can hear the two different accents.
Okay.
And I've got a real American person sitting next to me, I thought I would do a quick British or American English quiz again. This one focuses on pronunciation.
Okay.
We're going to do the pronunciation one.
Should I be looking at this or should I try to avert my gaze?
Up to you.
Okay.
Up to you. I mean, considering a lot of people listening are just listening and they can't see what you're seeing, I'll be trying to make it clear for them too. So you don't need to look at the document I have here. So a quiz with a specific focus on pronunciation differences covering a range of words. So choose the pronunciation closest to how you would naturally say each word.
Okay.
So I'm going to spell a word. You can see it. Listeners, you'll be able to see these things. Go to the episode page. I'll put these things there. How would you say these words? So the first one is okay, here's what we'll do. I'll briefly sort of define the word and you have to try and guess it. So don't look at the screen.
Okay, I won't look at the screen.
So this is a thing that you would take during the winter time to improve your immune system. Vitamin C, vitamin D. Right.
So vitamin.
Oh, I just gave you the answer. I just said the word. Oh.
A vitamin. But I did see that's the only one I've seen. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but we can say that's a different pronunciation.
So you say
vitamin.
I say vitamin. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Vitamin.
Vitamin, yeah.
Vitamin.
I have a long I there. Vitamin.
Vitamin. And a D sound.
Oh, yeah.
Not vitamin, but vitamin.
Vitamin, yeah.
And vitamin. Sounds so British when I say that.
It really does.
Vitamin.
Okay.
So next one is where would you keep your car indoors?
The garage.
Ah, because I would keep it in a garage.
Oh.
There's a few different ways of saying garage. Garage, some people say in England, but garage. And you say?
Garage.
Interesting.
Garage.
With it sounds more French. Garage.
But they say parking.
They say parking.
They say parking, yeah.
For some reason they use an English word wrong.
Parking quoi.
Yeah, exactly.
Garage.
Garage, but you'd say garage.
Garage.
Stress on the second syllable. Next thing is if someone tries to organise a meeting with you, you would just need to check something to see if you have any availability. You check your diary, or maybe you check your... It begins with an S.
Oh, my schedule.
Right, schedule, whereas I would say, do you know?
The schedule.
Schedule.
Oh, I say schedule. But it's funny because we don't say diary. That's also very English.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I check my diary.
No, what's a diary for you?
A diary is like a journal where you write down your secrets and you keep it all locked up.
Dear diary.
Yeah, dear diary.
Today I was on Luke's English podcast.
Or to quote Miss Britney Jean Spears, "Dear diary, today I saw a boy."
Oh, that was good. Very nice voice.
Thank you.
So we call it a schedule. You call it a schedule.
Yeah, with that
You're
K.
probably right that it's schedule, because there are no other words that are spelt SCH that are pronounced sk. No, sorry, sh. Like it's a school.
Schul?
No,
are we going to a schul, Papa?
Sounds very German, doesn't it? So anyway, schedule in Britain, schedule. In American English. A kind of metal, a very sort of light yet strong metal, used for making foil, which you could use to cover some food.
Aluminum foil.
Right, we call it aluminium. Aluminium. 5 syllables.
Aluminum. 4.
Yeah.
Aluminum.
Where's the stress?
Aluminum.
Lu.
Yeah, aluminum.
Right. For us, it's aluminium. Right. I mean, I think you probably get a point there as well for efficiency.
You know, American English, we like to be efficient. I think we're cutting to the chase.
Yeah. Reduce the syllables.
Sure.
Simplify the spelling.
The syllable got lost in the Atlantic somewhere.
Yeah.
We just dropped it off.
Floating in the middle of it. It got eaten by a shark. Right. If you're cooking like Italian food, maybe spaghetti bolognese, obviously you've got your meat, you've got your onions and tomato sauce, but you might sprinkle some...
Parmesan cheese?
Sure. Parmesan, I would actually say parmesan.
Oh.
That's another one. But
Parmesan.
No, little green leaves, dried green leaves.
Basil?
Basil. I'd say basil.
Oh.
You say basil.
Basil.
It's interesting.
Am I getting the word? Is there another?
Well, what is basil or basil?
Oh.
It's a what?
It's an herb.
Right. No, it's not.
It's a herb.
It's a herb.
A herb.
Yeah.
I just say herb, but we dropped that H again.
French, surely. That must be...
Herb. Yeah, they say...
Because in French, they don't say herb, they say herb.
Herb.
Herb. Yeah.
L'herbe.
L'herbe. So, America, you've kind of gone, no, we'll pick up from the French here. French food's better. We trust the French when it comes to pronouncing this.
Yeah.
So you've gone
again, the H we just threw into the ocean.
Yeah. There's all sorts of letters bobbing about out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's happened to them?
The pronunciation ocean.
Yes, the ocean, and a pronunciation ocean. That's quite a
pronunciation ocean.
Quite a tongue twister. So, herbs in British English and herbs in American English. You said this word earlier. It's a kind of classical dance, which like the Swan Lake. Ballet. Whereas I would say
ballet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a difference in the stress. Yeah, we say ballet. Ballet
in British English and ballet in American English.
And it's funny because in French they call it danse classique. They don't even call it ballet, which sounds like a French word. They don't call it ballet at all.
It's so French. I wonder what ballet is in French then.
I don't know. Right, but written like that, nothing. But the way we're saying it, broom is ballet. Balai. B-A-L-A-I, balai. So like to sweep is balayer.
Right.
And then ballet is the broom.
How confusing. But ballet has got a T at the end,
Yeah.
which is not pronounced in either version, British or American English, which again makes us think that it's a French word. Moving on to number 7, you have your work time,
Okay.
and then the rest of your time is your what?
Leisure.
Again, no, sorry. Leisure. Leisure time.
Leisure.
Leisure. In America, leisure. I say America, I mean the United States of America. Because there's always someone who says, can you stop calling the United States of America America? Because I live in somewhere else in America and I'm not from the United States.
Oh, like on the continent on the continent of North America or South America.
It's always nice to have you on the podcast to give a correct version of English for people to listen to on the continent.
Continent. As I was saying before, when you're learning a language, most people are nice, some are not.
Yeah.
Making fun of my pronunciation, sir.
I'm just
Listen, as I've said before, probably, I'm from the American South. I don't have a strong Southern accent. But I came from North Carolina, and this is how people speak. And so I just have that continent. We live in the continental United States, baby.
Might just mispronounce it. Just carry on. Yeah. It's great when you do that. That's North Carolinian accent. That's good fun. Leisure in British English, leisure in American English, right? Leisure like pleasure, leisure like seizure.
But we write leisure and seizure EI.
EI. They are both spelled EI. Again, maybe another point to the Americans there, because there seems to be more consistency. Leisure, seizure. So seizure, maybe you should just call it seizure. Maybe that's how that word should be pronounced instead of seizure. Number 8, you're watching television, you're watching some movie, and it cuts, and you get a break, and they start showing you footage of a new car driving through the mountains. Advertisement.
Yeah.
Right. In British English, it's an advertisement. Yeah. So, but yeah, oh dear, I'm almost conceding another point to American English here, because the verb is to advertise.
Yeah, advertise.
Advertise. And so it would make sense for the noun to be advertisement, but no, advertisement in British English.
I'm going to come in and help the Brits, because in French, advertisement is like a warning.
Okay.
So if someone says an avertissement, it's a warning.
Yes.
And so you heard French people saying avertissement.
Yeah.
And you put your English spin on it.
Yes. And we're warning people about products. Be careful. There's a new car on the market.
So you heard how do you say it?
Advertisement.
Advertisement. So you heard the French say that. You're like, we like that one. Write it down. Sounds good. Advertisement.
Right.
I'm going to give you that point.
Thanks a lot, because we it's obviously a loan word from French. A lot of our words in English come from French, so we stuck with the French pronunciation. Where if you use in America, you kind of streamlined it, made it consistent with between the noun and verb forms. Number 9. This is an animal that you might see on the Serengeti plain, hunted by lions. It's like a horse with black and white stripes.
A zebra.
Right. We would say a zebra. Yeah. Zebra. Zebra.
It's more fun to say zebra. We have the strong E. Zebra.
Yeah, that does seem a bit more fun. Zebra. Woo! Zebra. But there's no way I'm ever going to say zebra. So I know you're trying to convince me that it's more fun. But
I think with your accent, saying zebra sounds bad.
Zebra.
Yeah.
No. I would be lynched in England if I came back to England and I was with my kids.
You said zebra
in the street, and I said, "No, come here, come on, kids, come here. No, we're going to cross at the zebra crossing." Everyone would be like,
Ooh.
They'd be shocked. They'd be tutting aggressively.
Ooh, God. That's bad. Yeah, it's bad, but it's a fun animal.
It is it's a fun animal unless you get kicked in the head by one, which is not fun at all.
Sounds like a personal anecdote.
I've never. Did I never tell you about the time I got kicked in the head by a zebra?
All those times in the Serengeti I've had.
Yeah, in my former life as a lion, when I lived among the lions. Yeah.
Getting a kick in the head from a zebra as a lion, the zebra gets one kick in, but you're the lion, so you're like, that was cute.
I reckon if a zebra got a good kick on the head of a lion, I think that you could take a lion out with a good zebra kick.
I feel like if they're that close getting a kick, the lion's got a claw. There's something going in. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. We want to finish this really fun pronunciation quiz challenge.
I talked about using herbs in recipes. You're making a spaghetti bolognese. Sorry about pronunciation. Italian people, there's a whole other nation.
We don't even say bolognese. We just say spaghetti sauce.
Right.
We didn't even try. America, we're like, nah, we're just called sauce.
What's it made of? What's one of the principal ingredients of a spaghetti sauce or a bolognese?
We'd say ground beef.
Okay, sure.
Tomatoes.
Oh, there you go.
Oh.
Tomatoes.
Tomato. Yeah, tomato.
Tomato.
Oh, that is the most English word. Tomato. Just like we're going on a voyage to Italy with that long A. Tomato. I'm like, tomato.
There's the O as well at the end. Tomato.
Yeah, tomato.
Yeah, or tomato.
I like the tomato. Or the darling.
You're right. That R sound, which in, I mean, do you say words with that R sound in American English?
Can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Oh, no, I was thinking more like O sounds. So when we say things like not a hot dog in American English.
Hot dog?
Hot dog.
Yeah, not a hot dog.
Yeah, not a hot dog. But tomato, the R sound often becomes a sound, doesn't it?
Tomato. We really go hard on the A.
Okay, tomato.
We're like, there's an A in there. Tomato.
Okay, this is a classic one. What's the best drink in the world?
I'm sitting across from an Englishman, so I feel like I have to say beer or tea.
Okay, what's the principal ingredient in both those drinks?
Water.
Sorry?
Water?
Water.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the correct answer.
Okay.
Yes. Water. Water.
This is where we go with the D again. Water.
Yes.
Der.
Water. Or, again, some English people, water.
We've just lost the middle consonant.
Yeah. The glottal stop instead.
The glottal stop.
Yeah, water.
Amazing.
Glass of water, bottle of water.
Oh, yeah, the bottle of water.
This is a meme on the internet where like Americans lose their minds over the fact that the Brits just call it a bottle of water. Bottle of water.
A bottle of water. But again, we in America, we do have some great regional accents. And, when you get into regional accents and fun accents, some, consonants can just drop off. Yeah. We don't need to say the full part of the word.
Yeah, it's all sorts of fun that can be had with the different versions.
Yeah.
Another herb, not basil or basil.
Again, we go hard with the A.
Another herb that you would definitely put in a bolognese or a tomato sauce.
Oh, garlic?
No.
Oh?
Not actually a herb.
Oh,
that's
sorry.
Okay.
I was getting excited.
Isn't it?
No, it's not an herb. It's a vegetable.
Yeah. It's like a bulb. It's related to the onion.
Yeah.
So anyway, no, it's a herb that begins with an O. Several
oregano.
Right. Oregano, oregano. Yes.
Oregano. What? Oregano.
This is like last time.
What?
This is like last time when we had the whole boy buoy thing.
My head is blown.
Oregano.
What in the Japanese sounding herb are you talking about? Oregano. That's too far. Just stop.
Yeah, there's even a state in the United States called
Oregon,
or Oregon, as perhaps it should be called. That sounds like something from Star Wars. Though,
Oregano.
Oregano.
What
does the world think of that, listeners? What do you think, oregano or oregano? Which one do you prefer?
Oregano.
You do?
No, I'm shocked. I'm with oregano.
Still processing.
I think
that.
English. Yeah, I can't. It's going to take me a while. I'll have to get back on that.
Next word. I actually just said it by accident. The next word.
Oh.
This is. This word describes the way something works, like the of doing something. It begins with a P. So, for example, if we talk about the of. Oh God.
The process.
Yes.
The process.
You got it.
Okay.
Process.
Okay, no, process.
I feel like, and we're going to have to wrap this up in a minute. I feel like as we go through this list, it seems very sort of ad hoc or something like that. Like obviously the listeners are going to be thinking, this is all great, Luke. In fact, it's wonderful. But
how do I know?
How do I know? What's the rule? There must be a rule. There isn't really a rule. I'm terribly sorry. There will be long histories as to why these words get pronounced differently, why American English diverged from British English or the other way, because we both diverged from each other in terms of pronunciation and spelling over, a long time. There's a long history. It's not just a simple rule that you can apply that explains everything, one rule to rule them all. I'm afraid not.
And it's really, I know you enjoy this. Etymology is so interesting, where words come from, how words evolve, even like every year what words get put into the official dictionaries and how we change language, and even, American accents, if you listen to like old movies, like old films in like the 30s and 40s, and just how people talk and news anchors talk. And it's just fun to see how it all evolves. So it's ever changing.
Yes, the sort of cultural linguistic landscape is fascinating.
Very interesting.
We've got a couple more. So on the computer, when you go to a website, you need to accept something. Oh God.
The cookies?
No. D-A-T-A. D-A-T-A.
Data.
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 Yeah. Or data. That's just a T sound. Data.
What do you say?
Data. Data. Or data.
Data. Sounds like sorry, that was terrible. Data. I think it depends. Data.
There's no one in you don't know anyone who says data.
No.
Really? Because I've heard that.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Data.
No, I say data. Again, hard A. We see the A. Data.
Okay. Data. Okay. Another thing that you have to deal with on the internet, like the fact that cookies are a problem. There are potential invasions of your... you don't want people taking your data and sharing it with anyone, because you need to protect your... you would close the curtains of your window to give yourself more of this. It's I would...
Privacy?
Yes, privacy.
Okay,
privacy, yeah. Privacy. Privacy. We talk about privacy laws in British English.
Privacy.
Again,
oregano. I'm shocked.
Still. Privacy, which again potentially makes more sense because it sounds like private, which is the adjective, private and privacy, but for us it's private and privacy.
Do you say privatize?
Privatize.
Or privatize?
Privatize.
Oh.
So it's privatize, private, but privacy.
Private eyes are watching you. You know the song?
No?
Hall & Oates.
Hall & Oates. Oh, okay.
Oates. Great song. Blue-Eyed Soul. Check it out.
Yeah, 80s,
Private Eyes.
80s music.
Interesting. Ooh, British English. British English is, I don't think you're winning the points. When you look at your adjectives and the nouns and the verbs, it's not adding up.
How do we, what's the criteria for judging this though? On who wins and who loses? It's not a competition though, is it?
I mean, I'm American. It's always a competition.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because we win and you guys lose a lot, which is why you're like, we can all...
Yeah, we're all right. Yeah, long history.
Shots fired.
No.
We won't.
You've got more guns than us, so.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I was just trying to have a friendly banter, just teasing how English sports teams are rubbish. But
excuse me. What did she just say? Sorry, where did you come in the Six Nations rugby tournament last year? And you don't compete, do you? Oh yeah, because it's European based. Cricket. Cricket.
Who wants to be number one in cricket?
Excuse me, second most popular spectator sport in the world. And normally when I tell people that, they're like, "Oh, it's just because it's popular in India," and it's like, "So what? That doesn't count because it's popular in India."
I didn't say that.
You didn't say that.
I actually was thinking, well, if anyone likes cricket, no matter where you're from, find a better sport.
Sorry, find a better sport? How dare you?
I'm never going to be invited back.
I make you a cup of tea.
I know.
That's almost it. Promote your show, and you insult the game of cricket. You don't realise what you've done.
I actually don't know cricket. I'm sure I actually really love all sports. If you sit me down in front of a sport long enough, I'll get engaged. I watched fencing at the Olympics and I was like, wow, this is fascinating.
Cricket's better than fencing.
Well, I've never watched it. So I'm sure, invite me over and will teach me the ways. I'm sure I would actually like it.
I'm telling you, cricket's brilliant.
I bet I would like it.
I'm sure you'd like it. Yeah.
Honestly, my dad, I grew up watching sports with my dad and he'd watch literally all sports. So it's a game where
I like it.
Like
the weather is one of the major players in the game.
Of course, in an English outdoor sport, you're like the weather. It's going to be a big
Seriously,
role.
the weather is a huge factor in
I believe it.
in the strategy that you have to take.
Well,
the game.
because you're playing on grass.
Yes.
So if it's wet, dry.
That's part of it.
Okay,
but
what
it's also
else?
the atmosphere. So if it's humid, heavy atmosphere, the ball will swing. It will move in the air differently. That's a large part of the game. That when you bowl the ball, the ball swings in the air. You shine one side of the ball, the other side let it get rough, and as you bowl it, and you bowl it in a certain way.
What does it mean to bowl?
That
like,
means
what is
pitching, like in baseball. It's pitching.
So you're throwing it in the air?
Throwing it, but it bounces before it reaches the batsman.
So it has to hit the ground.
It hits the ground. There's another thing, another factor. So in baseball, the ball doesn't bounce, but it moves through the air.
Yeah.
It can swing and all that stuff. In cricket, the ball swings as well. And I think it's a longer distance. The ball travels further, which means the air, the swinging is more of a factor. But then it bounces on the ground, and the condition of the wicket, as they call it.
Is that the pitch?
That's the wicket. The ground where the ball will bounce is known as the wicket. Yeah. So the condition of the wicket, which is affected by the weather.
Listen, I grew up playing golf, and this sounds like golf, cricket. They're like, we're going to hit a ball in the air on different grass with humidity, maybe rain, and let's just see how it goes.
Yeah.
Except golf goes into the hole, and cricket, where's the ultimate?
Get it beyond the boundary.
Okay.
Get it way out into the car park, hopefully.
Oh.
Smash someone's window with the cricket ball.
And what do you call that when someone hits it past the car park?
If it goes out without touching the ground, that's a 6. You get 6 runs.
Okay.
If it hits the ground before it goes out of the boundary, that's 4 runs.
And you've got places where people have to...
Fielders are just wherever the team...
But is there like a base or something like they have in baseball?
No, so in baseball you've got this diamond with 4 bases, but in cricket it's just two sets of stumps at either end. So instead of running around the diamond, you run between the things. Anyway, we're getting really distracted. I
know, but this is great. Cricket. I told you, I was just listen. Where it all came from, I have a lot of English friends, you included, and I know when it comes to football, English national team, it's hard for you guys. So I was just having a nice little go. But look, I've learned something, and now I'm like, you know what? I love cricket. It felt necessary to pause and get me
one of the best things about cricket, and I'll stop here, is the fact that test matches, these are big international matches, will last for 5 days.
I've heard about this. They can go for a really long time. Do they pause at any point?
Oh yeah, they stop for lunch and tea.
Obviously.
So you stop for tea in the afternoon.
But then it can go all night?
No. It stops at sort of about 6. When the light fails, because that's another factor, the quality of the light. So
there's no additional lighting on the wicket? In
some versions of cricket there are. But in test match cricket, not normally, no.
Okay.
It's daylight hours.
I feel like, and I don't know who came first, but I feel like, if baseball and golf had a baby, this is what I see as cricket. Yes. There's elements.
Yes. Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Okay, that's another episode. I would actually like to come back and talk about sports because I think it's really fun. Yeah, okay, give me the last one and then we got to go.
Just one more.
Sure.
That is when you're driving, you need to choose the way in which you're going to go from your home to your destination. It is your
route?
Route. Yeah, okay, route.
Oh. Well, sometimes people say route.
Right.
But it's Route 66, like the famous American highway.
Yeah.
I always say route.
Yeah, what's his name? Chuck Berry sang Route 66. He didn't sing Route 66. But some people do say route.
Route. I don't know when it becomes a route and when it's a route. There's an old show called Whose Line Is It Anyway, which is improvised, and Wayne Brady made an improvised song called Route Route. And I remember watching this episode because he was like, I don't know when I say route, I don't know when I say route. And he was like, the route route.
Okay.
It was funny.
So
I don't know. Yeah. It's stuck in my brain. So Wayne Brady is going route route.
I think in the US it's one of those words, it could be either route or route, but in the UK it's always route.
Route. I would say route. Yeah. And speaking of, I've got to get...
Yeah, we've both got to get going. We've got to hit the road to pick up the kids. And so, Sarah, thank you very much for coming back on the podcast.
It's really enjoyed it, as always.
Yeah, definitely. All right, everyone. Nice one. So that was my conversation with Sarah Donnelly, back on the podcast again for the, 9th time, I'm going to speculate. I'm speculating it's the 9th time. I'm not sure exactly how many times it's been, but she's been on the show a few times before. If you want to find her other appearances, if you are subscribed to Luke's English Podcast in a good podcast app, like, the one I always mention, the one I use, and that's Pocket Casts, who don't sponsor this podcast, by the way. But if you subscribe to Luke's English Podcast on Pocket Casts, if you just open up your subscription on Pocket Casts, you will find a search function, and you could just search for the name Donnelly, and it'll show you all the episodes with Sarah. And you could, add them to your list so you can listen to them. Or if you go to my website and look at the episode archive, that's teacherluke.co.uk/episodes, and then you do a Command F search if you're on a Mac, or Control F search if you're on a Windows computer, and then search for the word Donnelly, Donnelly, right? Search for that, and that will reveal all the moments when Sarah was on the podcast. She's a good friend of Amber's, who, of course, you probably know because Amber's been on the show lots of times. Amber and Sarah are really good friends. In fact, they were on a couple of episodes together, I think. Anyway, you could check out your episode list in a podcast app with a search function like Pocket Casts, or you could do a Control F or Command F search on my episode archive to find other episodes with Sarah, including, I think, the most recent one, which was 783, which all focused on differences between British and American English. Don't forget you can watch Sarah's show, The Only American in Paris. The link is in the description. It might be fun to watch Sarah doing her stand-up comedy on stage, talking about some of the things we talked about in this episode. I really enjoyed that conversation with Sarah. She will be back on the podcast at some point. We covered some interesting things, cross-cultural stuff, and then the stuff about American and British English, and cricket, of course. If you're a fan of cricket, let me know in the comments section. I did an episode all about cricket a few years ago with my dad. It's called, I think it's Explaining Cricket, or Explaining the Rules of Cricket. Is that what it was called? Or All About Cricket, or something like that. Explaining the Rules of Cricket, episode 473, which was done a few years ago. We talked about the rules of cricket, trying to explain it as best we could, and also bits of vocabulary, idioms and things that come from cricket, like to be on a sticky wicket, to have a good innings. It's just not cricket, which means it's just not fair. It hit me for 6. I was bowled over by it. I'm completely stumped by that question. You caught me out. Phrases like that, which actually come from cricket, we go through all that stuff as well. So that's episode number 473, deep in the episode archive. You could listen to that one if you want more chat about cricket on Luke's English Podcast, and you get the bonus of it being with my dad, so you can enjoy the voice of Rick Thompson in the episode as well. That's the end of the episode. I'll speak to you again next time. All right, you can always leave your comments about anything that came up in the episode. I'm always happy to read what you have to say. And have a great morning, afternoon, evening or night. I hope this episode has helped you with your English. Remember, you can go to the episode page for this episode on my website, where you'll find notes about the vocabulary that we talked about. You'll also see some of the questions that I plan to ask Sarah, but there's all that stuff about like vitamin versus vitamin, garage compared to garage, schedule in the UK versus schedule, aluminium in the UK, aluminum in America, herbs in the UK, herbs in America, ballet and ballet. Leisure and leisure, advertisement and advertisement, zebra, zebra, tomato, tomato, water and water, oregano, which is the one that surprised Sarah so much, and oregano. And go back to episode, was it 783, for a similar one of those, where I was knocked out by Sarah's pronunciation of the word boy, which is a kind of inflatable thing that goes in the water in a lake or in the sea. That's a boy, B-O-U-Y. She pronounced it buoy, which I nearly fell off my chair. Process or process, data or data or data, privacy versus privacy, and then other things. Actually, there were other things. So mobile. So mobile and mobile. So in America, you hear people saying mobile phone, whereas in the UK, it's mobile phone. A clerk, clerk, like someone who works in a bank clerk. In America, clerk. We had route and route. We've also got lieutenant. That's in British English. That's someone in the army, a rank in the army, a lieutenant, and in America, lieutenant. And niche, like that's a niche subject for a niche market, for a niche product. In America, it could be pronounced niche. I think some Americans say niche, but also you might hear niche. So anyway, you'll find all that vocab listed on the episode page for this episode on my website. But anyway, I was saying, have a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, or night. I will speak to you next time. But for now, it's time to say goodbye. Bye. Bye. Bye.